from Relay FM. This is Connected, episode 167. Today's show is brought to you by Casper, Text Expander, and Balance Open. My name is Mike Hurley. I am joined by Federico Viticci. Ciao, Federico.
Ciao, Mike.
And Stephen Hackett. Howdy, Stephen Hackett.
Howdy, Michael Hurley.
Oh, you said howdy. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big show today. We've all got those big phones. Big show, big phones. That's the name of the game today.
Actually. Less big
That's
phone.
true. That's true. Middle phone. It's the Goldilocks iPhone, right? It's like the just in the middle. It's like just right.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's right. It found just the perfect bowl of oatmeal or whatever is in that story.
Mm-hmm.
That story is actually, so we'll do a little side tangent here. I'm sure the two of you haven't read many, like, what are those stories called? Like,
Nursery rhymes? Are they nursery rhymes? Fables?
yeah,
Fables.
like, you know, that
Fables,
sort of
yeah.
like class of story, right? I don't know how many of those y'all have read recently. They're all sort of terrible. Like,
Well, aren't they all adapted from stories that are meant to scare children into being well behaved?
yes, and it does work for that. My children are very
Yeah.
afraid of being eaten by a wolf now. So
Good. That's good
you
life
want them to
lessons.
have that fear, but some of the stories are. What are we talking about? Let's go to follow up. Okay, follow up is very odd this week. It sort of blends into to all sorts of things. But I thought I would start by updating people about my late 2016 MacBook Pro that was fixed after much arguing and pain with the Apple Store. That MacBook Pro came back to me, whatever it was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and I have rage sold it. So I just have this
okay.
late 2012 sitting here on my desk, which is not the fastest computer I've ever used, but it's fine for now. So yeah, there it is.
So you actually ended up going the full Marco on this one.
No, the full Marco is buying a new old computer. I have not done that. I already had this one. It's just bringing it back into service.
I feel like we're on a technicality. I don't think that counts.
No, it's totally different. I didn't spend any money. I have spent no money. This computer was already in the collection. I did put a battery in it, so I spent $100. But I did not buy.
How did that
a new
computer
old
get
computer.
into the collection?
That I don't know anymore because there's like 100 computers in here.
Isn't that convenient?
This, I think, may have been mine at some point. I don't know. It's impossible to keep up. But anyways.
You should just use an iPad.
Except that I need to do work in Logic and Final Cut. And
On your laptop, though? Really?
yes. Yeah. When I travel,
Why?
at least.
But you're not traveling right now.
No, I'm not. But I did edit both videos I posted this weekend on it, which was an adventure we can get into later.
Why? Why did you do that?
Because I did it in the living room instead of my office. It's fine. I don't want to work on an iPad. Because Google Docs has not been updated, has it? Has it been updated, boys?
It sure hasn't. No, it never will be.
Still no. I did some digging into Google Docs for iOS, and because I'm writing this article about drag and drop on the iPad, and I was looking into how different apps expose different data formats for the text that you can select and either copy into the clipboard or drag and drop. And so I try. Of course, you cannot drag and drop with Google Docs because they still don't have an update for iOS 11 with that feature, but you can copy text from Google Docs to the clipboard. And so I moved that text into one of the shelf apps that I'm using to look at the UTIs, the data formats that they expose to the system. And Google Docs, I think the problems that we all had in the past with like copying from Google Docs and losing the formatting, or copying from like Apple Notes or Apple Mail and pasting into Google Docs and also losing the formatting, goes basically back to the problem of Google using a custom data format, something like vnd.google docs document, like a custom data format that I searched on Google, and apparently it's the proprietary format that they use also in the Google APIs for dealing with the Google Docs suite of apps. Like Google Sheets has a version of this. The Slides also has another slightly different version of this data format. So I guess the reason why we constantly lose the formatting when we copy from Google Docs and paste elsewhere is that Google is exposing first the either plain text, which of course doesn't have features like bullet lists or links or bolds and italics. And then after plain text, they expose this version, which of course is useless if you're going to paste that format into an Apple application. So I suppose that the struggles that Google, is having with drag and drop is that they need to reconcile the fact that they're using these custom data formats for their own text, which is, I suppose, it's like a fork of HTML, sort of like Evernote was doing with their own NML version. So I suppose Google is doing that, and they still haven't figured out how to combine drag and drop with their own custom engine. But it was interesting for me to, just by using the clipboard and looking into the data formats that they use, HTML is like last into the list of data formats that you can export from a Google document. So that was fun. And by fun, I meant I was basically screaming internally and weeping. But yeah.
I go through waves of believing they're going to do it and then believing they're never going to do it. And I don't know where I settle. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, they update their stuff slowly. And then other times I'm like, oh, maybe this is just one that they'll completely skip. I have more faith in their ability to update for the iPhone 10 than I do for their ability to have drag and drop, and that's now in this segment. So Google Docs also does not support iPhone 10 right now. Google Docs and Google Sheets, they are in that old compatibility mode. So Google, we've got our eye on you, and Federico is sniffing around inside your business, and just let you know we're coming for you, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mentioned that we all have iPhones, which definitely means that some stuff went down. So, Federico, did you bribe anybody?
No.
No?
I didn't have to. So, I didn't get my iPhone on Friday. And that was despite my best efforts to be as quick as possible with the pre-orders. My Apple order page said that I was going to get the iPhone on Friday. But what I didn't account for was the national strike that I mentioned last week affected shipments throughout the entire week in Italy. So
you could have fixed that with just more cash. Like, you accepted defeat way too early.
It was not a cash problem. This was basically a dual problem of what UPS called over volume. So like a backlog of packages that were sitting in a warehouse somewhere outside of Rome, and they couldn't deliver because they had to catch up with the previous shipments from like the week before, because the strike was on Monday and Tuesday. And in addition to that, they also do not support driving to the warehouse and just picking up the package on your own, which you can do in other UPS facilities, I guess, in Italy. And also, I've seen people in the US driving to the local facility and picking up the package. You cannot do that in Rome for some reason. So I was really upset on Friday, and I had the thought of trying to go to an Apple store and buy an iPhone on Friday, because I had this entire plan in mind that I wanted to spend the weekend with the iPhone 10. I wanted to start writing about the iPhone 10, and I wanted to have the weekend off so I could play with the device and start getting some thoughts together. But then as always, Silvia made me think about my stupid ideas. That it was useless to just buy an iPhone on Friday, and because I was gonna get one on Monday anyway. So I decided to mostly stay away from Twitter, because looking at the pictures of people unboxing their iPhones was just too much, and I basically took the weekend off. And I played with my Nintendo Switch and the dogs. And by Monday, in the meantime, I should say that I discovered that the UPS guy also has my phone number saved in his address book on his phone. Because when I called him, I was like, "Hey, I'm Federico. I don't know if you remember. I'm the guy. I gave him my address." And he's like, "Oh yeah. How are you doing?" So I assume he had my phone number, and he later told me that.
Do you think that the UPS delivery driver listens to Connected?
I don't think he does, honestly. So he was super kind, and he told me that actually a lot of people call him on the phone and arrange like they drive to wherever he is right now with the van, and they pick up the package, because he said it's also easier for me because I don't need to drive to their house. So it saves me a bunch of time, and people are happier because they get their packages earlier. So on Monday, instead of getting the package at like 2 p.m., I drove by, like 5 minutes in another, somewhere close to my house. He was delivering a bunch of boxes, and he just he got my iPhone, and he said, there you go, it's done. So no bribe involved, because it's something really common that people do all the time apparently. But I got my iPhone on Monday, so yesterday, not on Friday, which means that I'm still fresh to all of this.
So I just one thing real quick, in case you're just trying to incriminate, not to incriminate yourself. Like if there was bribery involved, just like blink once for yes. And then we'll know. Maybe you're just trying to not incriminate yourself.
Well, the beautiful thing about podcasts is that even if you blink, there's no one there to see you.
Exactly.
So,
it's the age old. In podcasts, nobody can hear you blink. Stephen, you picked up your iPhone nice and early, and like all millennials, you made a vlog about it.
I did do that. So I did the in-store pickup at 8 a.m. I was suddenly very nervous that I was going to be like clapped in or out of the store, because that's a creepy thing Apple stores do. But I didn't, which was good. There were some other people there before me. There was a huge line in my store, and I went in, and the woman who got my phone for me and who I completed the transaction with was like, yeah, most, or if not all of those people will get phones. And I was back at the store last night for a reason we'll talk about it in a little while, and these people have been coming in every morning. They have stock almost every morning. So it seems like these phones are easier to get than anticipated, but the in-store pickup was real straightforward.
Good. I had many harebrained schemes. I don't want to go into all of the details of those harebrained schemes, but I do have a silver iPhone 10. I ended up getting it at a store, and also maybe related or not related to that transaction, I was in the Regent Street store on iPhone launch day and bumped into my new buddy, Sir Jonathan Ive, just hanging out in the store, demoing Face ID with an Apple Store employee, with a gaggle of geniuses. What's a group of geniuses called? Like, you like, what are they called?
A sorrow of geniuses.
A sorrow of geniuses. Geni surrounding Johnny while he was giving this demo. Johnny was dressed exactly how you would imagine, all white linen trousers and a green jacket. He was wearing the Johnny uniform for the day. He seemed like a very nice man. I did not talk to him because I am too British for something like that.
I just love how you were the most skeptical one in regard to getting an iPhone on launch day, and you ended up being the first, I think, of all of us having an iPhone 10.
Well, because I had to launch into action, right? Like, you guys had your plans, right? Your plans were all set in stone. I had no plan. So I had to leave my house and just, like, attack London until I got an iPhone. Yeah, I just had a bunch of things going on. I had some irons in the fire, and one of them ended up coming true, and then I got the phone before anybody. Well, not anybody, but before you two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good job. And, I saw the picture on Twitter, and I almost couldn't believe it. It was like... That's awesome.
Very surreal. It was a very, very surreal moment for me.
So you just turned, and you
turned
saw
around.
Johnny.
And
that was Johnny.
So the Apple Store in Regent Street has, like, all the Apple Stores, like long lines of tables, right?
Yeah.
I'm standing by one of the trees. I turn around. There's nobody in front of me. But, like, 2 tables down, Johnny Ive is just standing there. He's just standing there looking around the store. And I was like, ha! I made a sound.
Was there a light coming down and shining on Johnny?
They bring it out for him. Every Apple Store has a spotlight that is activated by iBeacon, which is attached to Johnny's phone. So it's something that you maybe didn't know that, but it's true. And I was able to see the spotlight. And I know taking pictures of people when they don't know is a bit, but I couldn't help myself.
Not if they're celebrities.
I had to do it. I had to take a picture of him, and I wasn't going to ask for a selfie because I don't I can't imagine that going very well. Like, if it was Tim Cook or Craig Federighi, I would ask them for a selfie. Like, I've seen many selfies. I can't recall a Johnny Ive selfie being about anywhere on the internet.
No,
So,
it doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist.
I don't think it would go very well for me. And, you know, I kind of imagine he would be very nice about it, I'm sure. But, yeah, I was happy to just be in the presence because he's a man that I look up to greatly. And, yeah, it was a very, very cool moment for me.
I enjoy your new role as the geek paparazzi, Mike. Just going around London, taking pictures of celebrities, posting them casually on Twitter. Very good job, Mike.
A new website called the Mike Zone is what it's going to be called.
It's TMZ.
TMZ for short. Yeah, the Mike Zone. So that's going to be my new website. Kyle's the Grey is posting many tweets in the chat room now of people taking selfies of Johnny Ive. But I'm sure it happens. Johnny doesn't look incredibly happy in any of them, to be honest.
But also, I feel like the question is, yes, those are pictures, but the real question is, are those people still alive? That's
exactly, right? Are they trapped inside of a big white box somewhere? Nobody knows.
Exactly.
So we have one mini topic this week. This is a really weird story. So it started happening, I guess, over the weekend. I think I first saw it on Twitter, where someone's tweet would be mostly fine, but instead of the letter I, like the word, like I tweeted, it would be A with a little symbol next to it, and then the rest of the tweet. And it has slowly been, it seems like it's slowly spreading. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it's like I saw a tweet yesterday. It was like, oh no, I haven't now. So it's some sort of weird deal. What's actually happening, and there's a really good blog post that's in the show notes by our friend and creator of Emojipedia. Mike, you were on his podcast last week, weren't you? Am I making that up?
I was. Yep. I was on Emoji Rap last week with Jeremy Bush.
Yeah. So Jeremy has this great blog post about what's actually happening here. So the letter I is being appended for some reason. It's obviously a bug with an invisible character known as the variation selector 16. I did not know what this was, but now I do. It is basically what is used in Unicode to make the previous character have an emoji appearance. And it, for some reason, again, some sort of weird bug, is that it is being appended to the letter I in autocorrect, and that breaks it and makes it A with a little question mark next to it. Apple's fix for this, they say that it's going to be, there'll be a fix in the public beta this week, so assuming it'll be out to the public pretty soon after that. But they say if you have this, just go to the text replacement in keyboard settings and just, for phrase, type an uppercase I. For shortcut, type a lowercase I. I love this for many reasons. A, most people don't know that's there. B, that system is so broken that you're going to have to redo it like every 3 days when they all just disappear from your phone. It's just so... This is weird. Like, it's just so funny to me. I don't know how you end up breaking this. It's very strange. It's not, someone in the chat room is saying that's the most weird K-Base article. That is patently false. There were far stranger things, but this is my current favorite for a modern K-Base article.
I love these types of fixes, like to these sort of situations where it's like it's not actually a fix, right? Like you're not actually fixing anything. It's just like pretend that it doesn't exist and just use the lowercase I instead of the uppercase I, like forever, and you're all good. It's very weird. I assume this is some kind of Unicode problem, right? Like they've screwed something up somewhere with Unicode. And it's because I kept thinking that I wasn't on the right beta and didn't have the right emoji.
Me too. Yeah.
And I had to keep checking.
Yeah. So do you guys have this? My devices are not doing this.
My Plus had this problem. My iPhone 10 doesn't have this problem yet, which is interesting because I was on the 11.2 beta on my Plus, but I restored on the public version on my 10. And Apple says that this problem affects iOS 11.1, but I've also seen people saying that they have iOS 11. The first version before 11.1 shipped, and they also see this problem. So it seems to be widespread on iOS 11 in general, but it seems to be hitting people like at random times. I'm not sure how it propagates, if it relates to some kind of setting being enabled at some point in the background. I have no idea. I should also say, as a quick aside, that when I restored my iPhone 10, actually I didn't restore, when I set up my iPhone 10 as a fresh new device, no backups, yesterday, the text replacements, they synced back from iCloud almost immediately. Like 10 minutes later, I reached out to the keyboard and I typed my text replacement for my email address. I didn't even think about it, and it worked. So I'm not sure if Apple migrated those text replacements to CloudKit, as they mentioned a few weeks ago. They said we're gonna move to the new system in the future, or if it's just maybe just luck. But it did work. Like 10 minutes later, I logged into iCloud, I started downloading a bunch of apps, and then the text replacement worked. So that was nice.
Yeah, I don't have it on any of my devices. Like, I see it, but it doesn't happen to me, which is very... I mean, it honestly does feel like it is this weird virus that is spreading from device to device, which is what I find so funny about it. Like, yeah, it hasn't happened to me, and I don't know why or why not, but it's a very, very, very peculiar and kind of hilarious thing. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at Balance Open, which is a free, open-source Mac app for checking Coinbase. Coinbase is a popular marketplace for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Balance Open is the best open-source digital wallet to help you keep track of everything. Balance want to help teach you and the whole world about cryptocurrencies because it's a thing which is really picking up steam. I was listening to a podcast just the other day with Kevin Rose, who's somebody that I really respect, and he had an episode of his show where he was talking to his previous podcast co-host, Alex Albrecht. They were on together, and they spent like 20 minutes talking about cryptocurrencies together and all the mining and that they were doing, and I'm becoming more familiar with it, but in part because of Balance, right? Like having these guys on a sponsor, I've started to look into this stuff more, and cryptocurrencies is a big trend right now. It is a thing that is happening, and you should know a little bit about it. And Balance want to help you out. They want to get you started on your way. Go to bal.money/relay. And if you're one of the first 1,000 people that goes to that URL, you will receive $2 in the Ethereum currency for free as a gift from Balance. Go check it out today. Find out more and try out Balance Open. Our thanks to Balance for their support of this show.
So we're going to get into our iPhone 10 hands-on impressions, review, thoughts, feelings, emotions. Mike, you did mention earlier that I did 2 videos, and I want to talk about this just real briefly. The links are in the show notes. Go like and subscribe.
Hold on. Wait a second. I need to ask you both a question, and you need to be honest with me.
Okay.
You need to be extremely honest, even if you are on a podcast. Okay.
Never lie to you, Federico.
Okay.
No.
I want you to tell me if when you're with friends or when you're with family, when you're with someone and you're talking about the new iPhone, do you occasionally call it the iPhone X?
Not anymore.
Just so...
No.
Because
No.
I feel like I'm very self-conscious about the fact that it's... I mean, of course, I know it's called the iPhone 10, but my friends don't. And so whenever they keep saying iPhone X, I don't want to be the guy telling them, oh, well, actually, you're supposed to...
Excuse me.
Yeah, well, you know, Apple want you to call it the iPhone 10. So I'm sorry, but you're using the wrong terminology here, my friend. And I don't want to be that guy.
What is this iPhone X that we've heard so much about? I think you'll find the most recent phone is the iPhone 10. Hi, my name's Federico Vitici, and I run this website. No, I haven't been in a situation like that. Where I've been with people that are referring to it like as the iPhone X. I honestly don't know what I would do in that situation.
Okay.
I still every now and then read it in my head as X. Like when I read it, it just reads as X.
Yes.
But
Yes.
just having it, over the last couple of weeks, like month or so, just trying to pay attention on podcasts, making sure I'm calling it 10 means I'm calling it 10 just naturally now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But that is a good question.
I was in that situation on Sunday, so we were with some friends who apparently saw these videos, which was super embarrassing, and wanted to see it and wanted to ask questions about it. And someone called it the X. And I didn't mean to correct them, but it just came out. I was like, oh yeah, like the 10. I was like, oh no, I'm that guy.
You are that guy.
The conversation quickly moved on.
Federico, can't you just be like, excuse me, do you not know Roman numerals? Do you know where you are, sir? You are in Rome, damn it.
No, but it got especially worse last night. We had a bunch of friends over for dinner, and they were really excited about they are Silvia's friends, and they use Instagram a lot, and so they wanted to see the iPhone 10, and I mentioned Instagram because they got super excited about the portrait mode. And so basically what happened was we have this group of 10, not 10, I would say maybe 6 or 7 female friends, and everybody looking at my iPhone 10, and they're making Instagram stories about the iPhone 10, and every single one of Silvia's friends, they are referring to the iPhone as the iPhone X, and they're making Instagram stories, and I'm just sitting in a corner drinking my espresso and being like, all these people are wrong. What am I supposed to do now? And they're making these stories about, hey, this is Stitch's iPhone X. Which is even worse. It sounds even worse in Italian because it's iPhone X, which is... It's all kinds of wrong. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. So I asked because I'm not sure how to do like socially in these situations. Like, I don't want to correct people and be like on 10 different Instagram stories in the background, be the guy, no, it's the iPhone 10 actually,
You just pop in.
Just pop in as Clippy, but for Apple marketing names.
Did you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, Steven. Anyway, go ahead.
You called me Clippy. That's what you've done.
Well,
I just don't know.
Anyway, back to the videos.
So it was fun to do. I was extremely self-conscious filming myself. Yeah, I do it in the studio a good bit now, so it's not weird in here. But walking across the Whole Foods parking lot, so I did that shot talking about Apple Pay, and I get in my car and I put the phone down, and there's someone like in the car across from me just staring at me, like trying to work out, like, is he FaceTiming somebody? Like, that's sort of weird to see in public, but
it's so obvious you're not, though. Right? Like,
yeah.
I always think that, like, oh, will they think that I'm FaceTiming? You don't look like you're FaceTiming, right? You look like you're filming yourself. I don't know why there's a difference.
Especially when you say stuff like, make sure to like the video and subscribe. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't say that on FaceTime.
Like and subscribe to FaceTime. I will say about this, right? Your vlogs were so good they were almost annoying to me. Because it is a very awkward thing to do, but you seem to just deal with it very well, except in that parking lot. Because I could see what you were doing. You were holding the phone lower down. I did this when I did like my first couple out in the street. Like, you don't hold it up to your face like you do everywhere else. You hold it like a little bit more towards your chest. Because like, I really just don't want people to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, out in the woods, it was fine because most of it's shot like in the state park in the middle of nowhere. But
they're great. If you haven't watched Steven's vlogs, don't just take his word for it. Go and watch them. They are very, very, very good. And it's more than just the review stuff. There's some nice scenery. And it's really nice. You can get a slice of Southern life, right?
There is a slice of Southern life in there. Both of these videos were demonetized over the weekend. And doing some homework, it seems like basically anyone with iPhone 10 or iPhone 10 review in the title of their videos were demonetized. So when that happens, YouTube says you can't advertisements won't run on this, so you're making no money, and you can request a manual review. And so I did that, and both came through that and were remonetized. And it seems like some other videos I had kind of noticed have been fixed. So maybe that was some sort of weird issue in YouTube system. You insert conspiracy theory about Google and Apple here, but they're remonetized. I thought it was an interesting thing. Like, I was talking to a couple of people who have much bigger YouTube channels. They're like, yeah, you're a real YouTuber now. You've been demonetized without warning. I was like, yeah, that's not what I expected, but it's been a fun experiment. I don't expect this sort of video to take over what I do on YouTube, but I thought it would be a fun way to sort of share the iPhone 10 like first weekend.
Should we talk about the iPhone 10?
Yeah. Federico, what do you think?
Well, it's only been like 24 hours. So I'm still trying to process what I'm actually using here. But my first reaction and sort of the thought that I keep going back to is this feels like almost like an impossible phone. Because the first time I opened the box and I took the iPhone out of the package and I started the setup process, and I looked at the screen and I went like, this is, I mean, the first reaction was, my God, like it's almost entirely screen. And I said to Sylvia, we were together yesterday, we were doing the setup, and I said, it feels like I shouldn't be using this phone in this kind of device in 2017. It doesn't feel like it's possible to go from an iPhone that looks like my iPhone 7 Plus to this 12 months later. It almost looks wrong in a good way, that it feels like something from the future that it's available today. And so from that point of view, sort of the iPhone 10 naming scheme makes sense. And I've always said that the idea of calling it 10 just for the concept of the phone from tomorrow but today makes sense. But really, in practice, it feels like the combination of the display and this sort of seamless design that, with the glass that blends into the display, and then it's also in the back of the iPhone, and how it almost feels like apps want to escape the screen. They want to go all the way up to the corners, and how those corners are rounded and they follow like the shape of the device. It does feel to me like a phone that shouldn't be possible, but it is. And I'm still trying to understand how, because it's a very different phone, and so it has this highly gestural driven interaction. It's very different from before. That, you know, we used to have the home button, and sort of all of our interactions were anchored to that button. But now it feels like we're free to do whatever we want in a more natural way. And so the metaphor of you're just holding a screen in your hands is stronger than ever in the iPhone 10. And it's a combination, I think it's a combination of, it's almost entirely screen, and it's got these rounded corners, and it feels like you're holding a display, but also the fact that there's no physical home button in the front of the device means that you're actually holding a display, and all your interactions are driven by multi-touch. And that's a powerful idea, I think. Something interesting occurred as I was setting up the phone. Sylvia looked at it and she went like, is it all glass? I said, yeah, because it's a new design and it's wireless charging. And she just goes, I don't like it. I was like, this is the phone we've been waiting for months.
That's a hot take right there.
You're supposed to love this phone because I also love it. And she was like, I don't know. I'll probably stick with the iPhone 7. So, the entire discussion that Mike and Jason were having an upgrade about the people who want the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus. I think I have one of those people in my household. So we'll see how it goes. But she started coming around, I think, on the iPhone 10 when I did a comparison of the black levels between my iPhone 7 Plus and the iPhone 10. And so she went like, oh boy, the black on the 7 Plus looks like dark gray compared to actual black on the 10. And I was like, see, I told you the iPhone 10 is pretty good. And she was like, yeah, maybe. So maybe she'll get an iPhone 10 eventually. I don't know. But overall, my first thought, sort of the idea that I keep having today, 24 hours later, it's amazing that when I look at it, when it's on a table or when I take it out of my pocket and I look at it, it's just a screen. I'm holding a screen. I'm not holding a phone with a screen. I'm holding a screen that is also a phone or a computer, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I don't mean to argue with you because I agree with all of that, but other phones have done this. Like I'm not saying that you're not saying that, right? I just want to point out that there are other phones who have done this. I think maybe even to a greater degree. But you're right. It's amazing how quickly my old phone looked super old, like way older than a year.
It's new to us, right? Like the three of us, it's new to us because we haven't had phones like
Right.
we use in like daily use that are like this, you know.
Agreed.
So I think that's a big part of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree like with what you guys are saying, right? It's wild. Like I want to keep playing with it all the time because it's so strange in a good way, right? Like it's it's this beautiful, like just the luxurious feeling of this phone is really like something I keep coming back to. Like it just feels like such a step up in every direction. You know, like the glass feels so good, and the stainless steel, you know, especially on the silver, in my opinion, just looks wonderful. And I can't stop looking at that screen because you know it's all of the technology. Like it's not just the shape and size; it's the wide color gamut, it's the true tone, all of that stuff together. It's wonderful. Like just, you know, as you're saying, Federico, like the blacks and the colors, like when you have the screen off, it is impossible to see where the seams are. You know, I very frequently am finding myself trying to turn this phone on upside down.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Because it's like you look at it and it's like, well, there is no seam anymore. Like it is just all black, and I love it. I really, really love it.
I know that other phones try, especially Samsung, try to did this before, but I generally think that it's not just the way that they have the ears at the top and the notch at the top. I think the key difference here is the lack of a bezel at the bottom of the phone. I feel like not enough people are talking about the fact that this phone goes all the way to the bottom. The display doesn't stop towards the lower end of the device. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but I honestly think it's more impressive at the bottom of the phone rather than at the top. Because the top is fine, and I think it's also the reason why I don't think the notch is such a big deal. And I'm not constantly looking at the status bar anyway. But at the bottom, you know, when I'm switching sections in apps, I'm tapping on like action buttons or switching tab bars, I'm constantly looking at the bottom of iPhone UIs. And so the lack of a bezel at the bottom, I think it's a much bigger contributor to the feeling of this feels like an entire screen in the palm of my hands. But before we talk about, because I know we want to talk about Face ID, we want to talk about the notch and the status bar, I wanted to ask you guys about controlling this iPhone via gestures and all the different swipes and commands that are now moving away from the home button and getting different options and activation methods in the iPhone X. And I wanted to start with the multitasking app picker. Mm-hmm. Because it for the first few hours yesterday, it felt to me like it was the trickiest gesture to learn and to
it is the trickiest
and to familiarize myself with. I don't know if it's the best way to go about it, but I've started doing sort of this quick semicircle gesture from the bottom right corner. I do a quick swipe up and to the left, like it takes less than a second, and if I do that, I go straight into multitasking. I don't do the swipe up and hold. I think it's faster if I do bottom right and up left. Less than a second, no holding and waiting. What do you guys think of opening the app switcher?
So I'm trying that too, right? Like just kind of flicking in from a corner, like to the other side. You know, so if doing it from the left-hand side, for example, you kind of feel like you're just dragging the apps out, like from the very bottom left corner. That works. The way I've been doing it is just like the pull up a little bit and just hold for a second, and it comes out. This is something that I don't feel like I've fully mastered my gesture yet, because the gesture that I have been using it's slow, you know, like I'm waiting, you know, like I'm just kind of just hanging out, and then eventually this weird multitasking thing will come out. Like that is of the gestures, the new gestures, that's the one that I have also, along with most people, have been struggling with. But that like kind of flicking out from the corner, like across the dock, that actually works pretty well, Federico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yeah, I know it's not too bad. I'm not sure if I would probably try and see if the official Apple method of just swipe up and hold, if it maybe it'll work over time. But I'm also kind of struggling with Control Center. Not because I cannot reach the status bar, because I was used to a Plus phone and I could almost use the Plus with just one hand. So using this one is no problem for me. I can reach the top just fine. But it's the muscle memory that's the problem for me. And I constantly keep trying to open Control Center by swiping up. I think this will be okay in a few days as this new muscle memory kicks in. But it's also the fact that the Control Center, it's now the opposite of what it used to be. It used to be something that came up from the bottom. Now it's sort of this model. I'm not sure how you call it, sheet. It's not a sheet. It's like an overlay that sort of comes down from the top. And the problem for me there is that, for example, on my iPhone Plus, I could swipe up slowly and then tap on the music controls, for example. Now, if I swipe down slowly with my thumb, the music controls are below my thumb, and so I cannot do the same gesture with one hand as comfortably as before. It's a very different, it's on the vertical axis is the opposite of what it used to be. And I'm not sure if this is the best way that Control Center should be done on the iPhone X. I know that a lot of people have been telling me on Twitter to use reachability, which is an option in the iPhone X. So you swipe down on the home bar, and then you swipe down again from the top right where the status bar would be while in reachability mode, which is fine. But I keep thinking that maybe there should be another method altogether to open Control Center.
Yeah, that's like a hack, right?
It's like a hack, yeah.
It doesn't feel right. I wondered why there couldn't be a way to put it all in multitasking, like on the iPad.
Yeah.
I would like to try and see if that could be a potential option, because that at least I would be coming from the bottom for it, which is what I'm used to doing. Stephen, what do you think about Control Center?
I agree with y'all. I think it's in the wrong place. I think it belongs in multitasking. I also sort of struggle with the visuals of it, where the cover sheet slides down, but then Control Center just sort of appears. And
it's weird looking.
There's something about it, yeah.
And one of my least favorite things is the sort of lack of information in the status bar. Like if you're in Do Not Disturb, you can't see that in the status bar unless you are in Control Center. And so my rethinking of this, again, I'm not stop your emails. I'm not the team of designers and UX engineers who worked on this. It's just one man's opinion. But you can combine all of that into multitasking, where if you're in multitasking, Control Center's on the far right, and you bring all the status bar information into that view. So if you are multitasking, you have Control Center and you have those other items available to you for viewing. I think that could all be one place, and I think it would all make sense there, sort of logically, the way the OS goes together. It really feels like Control Center's not where it's supposed to be. One thing you didn't mention about multitasking is the fast app switching. So if you swipe horizontally across the bottom of the screen, you can move between the 3 most recent apps. You can only swipe to the left, I think, or sometimes you can't to the right. That seems a little confusing, but I've been using it a bunch because I restored from backup, but not everything comes over, and so I'm in 1Password way more than I normally am, and so I can be like in an app and then go to 1Password and then go back to the app and have them like real close together if I have to log into multiple things. And that's really nice. It's not at all discoverable, but it doesn't need to be because multitasking will take care of most people. But it's a really fast way to switch between the most recent couple of apps. I'm really using that one a good bit, actually.
Stephen, you put a note in to our document that I'm very pleased that you put in.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to talk about this, and I figured you would be the person who would understand.
Yes. As the, what did we decide last week? The Syracuse stand-in. I must talk about RSI. And I've had a fair bit of RSI in my right hand in particular, including before and after like extensive nerve surgery in my elbow, which is a topic for another day. But I am really struggling with all the swiping in my right thumb. And the last time I really had this on a phone is when I moved to the Plus for the first time. So I'm hoping that this is just an adjustment period. But especially the most troubling one for me is swipe up. And that's the one you use all the dang time on this new phone. And like to a point, Friday after I'd set it up, I just sat the phone down for like hours because like I can't do it. It seems a little better over the weekend, even until today. So I'm hoping that I'm just adjusting, but that is worrisome to me. And if it doesn't go away completely, I have thought about, do I need to try to figure out how to use my phone with my left hand so I could use it with both hands and balance the workload or what? But as of right now, it's not a home run for me in this regard.
Yeah, I'm struggling too. My thumbs and are hurting, and I've noticed additional pains in my wrists. I've never had surgery like you, but I have had RSI problems, and this is normal for me. Like if I bring a new device into my life that has some new method of operating, it causes me problems. Like when I first got the Switch, there was problems with the Switch. I don't know why. And I've had some problems over the weekend with the phone. I mean, I'm using the phone more than I would normally use a phone because it's new and exciting and whatever. Yes. But these are new interactions, and I'm kind of just hoping that I'll just get used to them over time. And like, this isn't a complaint because, like, what are you going to do, right? Like, you can't stay that way forever. And do you know what I thought about? Honestly, like, if this is a thing that continues, I'll use assistive touch. Mm-hmm. Right, like the little thing that flies around on the screen. Like if this is a big problem for me, then I'll try and use that more.
Same.
But I remember I had these problems when I moved to the Plus as well. So I'm hoping that it will just go away. But it's something that I think is always worth remembering. Like also, I had some problems when 3D Touch came out as well. Mm-hmm. Right, it's just like you're used to doing these things in certain ways, and then when they change, like the change can cause stress until your hands get used to it. And this is something that I think affects more and more people these days because of how much we use our devices. Like, it has made me start to think, like, I'm terrified about the thought that using these devices is like actually just destroying us all, and like in a few years like no one will be able to use them anymore. Like I've been like playing around this dystopian hellscape in my mind of like everybody and like their claw hands, and like nobody can use touchscreens anymore, and then like the robots take our jobs or something. Like I don't know.
You can also set assistive touch to Open Control Center, I just learned, so you don't have to bring that down.
No, yeah, so it's I don't know. Federico, your silence is making me think one of two things. Three things. One, you think that we're wild and have lost our minds. Two, you have no problems with this. Or three, you think we're old. I don't know, but I know it's one of those.
Which one do you think it is?
I don't think you're having any problems with this because in the past you've like dispelled these problems, and I'm assuming that you just think we're old.
No, I don't think you're old, but also I don't have these problems.
Yeah.
So it's been fine for me, totally fine. But I understand why it can be a problem. I know that this is a concern for you, and I don't think you're old. I think a lot of people have these issues, so it's important to have fallback options like assistive touch.
Yeah, they exist. I mean, I don't want to use it. Like I don't want to have to use assistive touch, but it's there. Just in case, right? All right, should we take a break?
Let's do it.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by our friends at Casper. Casper are the company focused on sleep, and they are dedicated to making you exceptionally comfortable one night at a time. You spend a third of your life sleeping. That's a lot of your life. If you spend a third of your life doing anything, wouldn't you want to make sure that it is as best as it can possibly be? This is why you need a Casper mattress. Their mattresses are perfectly designed for humans, with engineering to soothe and support your natural geometry. It's got all the right support in all the right places. I love that line so much. So what goes into making a Casper mattress so comfortable? They combine multiple supportive memory foams for a quality mattress with just the right sink and just the right bounce. Their mattresses are designed and developed in the US, and their breathable design helps to regulate your body temperature throughout the night. And with over 20,000 reviews with an average rating of 4.8 stars, Casper is very quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. It's easy to see why. You can be sure of your purchase with Casper because of their 100-night risk-free sleep-on-it trial. They deliver directly to your door, and if for any reason you don't love it, they have a hassle-free return policy for 100 nights. You just send it back. It's no problem. Stephen, you have a Casper mattress. Does it give you all the right support in all the right places?
It does. That's the exact
Good.
phrase I think of. Yeah, no, it's awesome. We're big fans.
So you can start sleeping ahead of the curve with Casper today. You can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/connected and using connected at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. That's casper.com and the offer code connected for your $50 off. Thank you so much to Casper for their support of this show. So should we talk about apps? I have found in general, the vast majority of apps that I'm using have been optimized. Which is great, right?
I've been surprised by it. It's encouraging to see. I was a little afraid it was going to be a longer term thing, but I would say the majority of apps I'm in every day are compliant. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. And they were ready for me as well. It wasn't they just kind of shook out. As soon as I turned the phone on, I had a bunch of apps already supported.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the ones that aren't look weird and old and tiny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, I guess, because they're using the iPhone 6 size class and they just put black bars around it, that they don't look bad. It's not like they blow up or stretch. They're just centered in the screen in a very, very sort of unsettling way. They're still totally usable, but it's definitely reminiscent of going from the 4 to the 5 or something like that.
There's also some developers that consciously do not embrace the notch and the new layout of the iPhone 10, and I think those apps just look wrong. When you're using those apps, they are updated for the iPhone 10, so they are, they have the correct aspect ratio and all that, but they made a decision to block out the status bar with a black background, for example, and I think they look like Android apps on an iPhone in a way. The notch, I feel like, and the sort of the split status bar has this distinctive feeling to it, which I appreciate visually. When you're holding the iPhone and you see the UI stretching all the way to the top, I think it looks nice. But also, there's this sort of, it feels like using iOS 5 or iOS 4 back when the status bar was black and there was this clear separation between the status controls and the title bar and the rest of the content, and honestly I think we've moved past that, but I feel like there's some designers that kind of want to bring that sort of style back in fashion, and I'm not a fan. I think it just looks wrong. It doesn't take advantage of the screen, and also it could be a problem for the OLED screen, for the burn-in problem of OLED. If you display elements that switch colors and sort of they're more dynamic than just blocking out the status bar with a black background, maybe over time there could be a problem. And I have a feeling that this is the reason why Apple has been advising developers to embrace this layout and to make sure that their UIs stretch all the way to the top corners, because you want to have as much dynamic content as possible on the screen. You don't want to have, wallpapers or any kind of background that is a fixed element and, that is displayed always in the same position over time. Most of all, I think they just look weird.
Yeah, honestly, I think that developers that decided to make a stand and use a black bar at the top, I think that their apps immediately look old and out of place. And whenever I open apps that are like this, like for example, Castro is one of them. I opened Castro and I thought that they hadn't updated. And I was really confused about it because I like the way that their bottom bar looks, right? Because they've got all the play controls and it's completely black, which is beautiful. I love applications that use like completely black because completely black with OLED screens is wonderful because it looks like the screen's not even on, right? So like they use the background there, but at the top they've just gone for the flat look, and I don't like it. And I understand, like, I've seen them saying that, like, they wanted to get the device and they want to play with it and they wanted to make sure they were doing the right things. And so I hope that in the future they, along with other developers, support it. But this is just an example of what we were talking about and what I believe from the beginning, which was that you really should be designing for the notch because it was going to look great, and turns out it does look great. And apps that aren't supporting it, I think that they're taking the wrong move of it. And even just trying to do basic support, even if it's a case of just like extending the color of your title bar all the way up to the top of the screen, it looks modern and fresh and cool. And I appreciate any app that is doing that right now.
I don't know who put this next point in our document, but I just wanted to say that I 100% agree with this, and I was going to bring this up.
Was it you, Mike? It was me.
Yeah.
More apps need true dark modes.
Yes.
So we've had dark modes for a long time on iOS that are kind of like a dark gray. You know, they're kind of stylized. They look really nice. And that worked really great until we got OLED screens. I have used enough Android devices with OLED screens to understand what a true dark mode is. And a lot of Android apps have a setting in them for like an OLED dark mode because this is where the dark mode is black. And when it is black, it looks wonderful. Like I called Steven on Slack yesterday, and when you're in a Slack call, the screen is completely black except for the hang up and call button and the little picture of the person. And I was like, oh yeah, that's how great this looks, because it looked like the only elements of the screen that were on were the ones that were in color. And I want more apps to have true dark modes now, because we have a screen now in our hands that can really take advantage of black levels.
Yeah, I think it's time for Apple to even extend that to the system. Like if you use a lot of first-party apps, you know, you maybe have a bunch of dark modes in Tweetbot and Overcast and stuff, but then you go to Mail and you're blinded. And Apple has the pieces there in the Watch app. You know, that's been a dark mode, a true dark mode, like black background, as long as it's shipped, like 2 years now or 3 years, however long the Apple Watch has been out. So Apple clearly has experimented with this, and I think it'd be really nice to see that in a future iOS update, to at least to have the option to put the OS and the first-party apps into a sort of OLED-friendly mode. Because I agree with you, I'm not generally a dark mode kind of guy, but I have switched to it in a couple apps because it does look so nice on this OLED display.
So, are you guys struggling with finding wallpapers for this device? Because I feel like I spent 2 hours yesterday just looking on the internet for iPhone X wallpapers. And what I eventually did, which this might make Steven happy, on the lock screen, I think I'm using what some Reddit person said was a macOS wallpaper flipped vertically. So it's basically a 16:9 wallpaper flipped so it can be used on the iPhone X, which is a very colorful wallpaper. And then on the home screen, I like home screen wallpapers that are either purple or black or dark blue. Because I like the way that these colors contrast with the colors of apps on my home screen. But I couldn't find anything that I liked for the iPhone X. And so what I did was I took one of Steven's 5K classic macOS X wallpapers, the leopard one. I use an app called Blur on my iPhone to apply some blur to the image. And I flip the image vertically, and I'm using that as my home screen.
I hadn't changed my home screens. Like what I'm using right now is the same as what I was using before, and I'm using a remaster artwork wallpaper, which is an exclusive perk for Relay FM members, as my like home screen. But for my lock screen, I'm using a picture of me and Adina from our engagement, and they both look fantastic. I was like perfectly fine with both of them. Like, I don't feel like I need to find something which is specific for this phone because the ones that I am using are really good.
Yeah,
for me,
I haven't changed mine either. I don't think I'm using a family picture as the lock screen, and for a long time I was using black for the home screen, and I'm still doing that because it looks really nice behind the icons on OLED, and the black is just so deep. So no change for me, but I do appreciate what you're saying, Federico. I think part of it for me is because the form factor is different, and the resolution is different. So the family photo I was using, I ended up kind of resetting it and moving it over a little bit because the cropping was strange on the taller phone. Because that size difference is noticeable if you're using a photo that's like exactly placed.
All right. So, do we want to talk about the actual features of this phone?
Nah.
Because we're talking about apps, we're talking about the notch, we're talking about wallpapers. Let's talk about the camera. So we don't. I don't think neither of us use the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. So the portrait lighting effects are new to us. They were new to me, for sure. As I mentioned last night, the selfie portrait mode was a huge hit among Silvia's friends, and I should say it's a very nice upgrade. If you take a lot of selfies, it's not too bad, honestly. I think it's better than how the original portrait mode launched last year, I guess. It's actually pretty decent for a 1.0 beta. I don't know if Apple calls it beta, the selfie portrait, but
I think so.
It's actually very nice, and I can see how normal people that don't have podcasts or write workflows, they might appreciate this change. It's a very welcome upgrade. I have mixed feelings about the portrait lighting effects, the studio light, the stage light, and the mono. I haven't been able yet to take a decent photo with those effects. And when I tried last night to demo this feature to said friends, it failed miserably. Like, it didn't just fail, like it created some incredibly and ridiculously wrong images with like some person's face like blurred in half with a black background cutting into their jaw, which is
awful.
super wrong, just awful. So I was curious if you guys had a better experience with this.
Nope.
Okay, moving on.
I have a couple of problems, which are specific to me, but they are problems. So I just took a picture right now that I'm sending to you two, so you can kind of get some idea of one of my problems. Right now, I am currently wearing eyeglasses, which the frames are clear.
Oh boy.
And portrait mode does not like those, right? Like I found portrait mode to struggle with eyeglasses anyway, but clear ones does not like. The picture that I've just sent you both is the only time that I've ever gotten a half decent picture out of this thing, because portrait mode hates my beard. Oh, it hates my beard. So if I take a picture kind of from the side, so like my beard is in front of some clothing or whatever, and I kind of angle it just right, but if I take a picture front on, it kind of cuts my chin into a triangle. It's very peculiar. It really doesn't like, I mean, portrait mode struggles with hair. It really struggles when that hair is on your face. And this is only in the stage lighting ones. In the regular ones, they're kind of fine, right? Like they're fine. They take pictures and they look mostly okay, but in the stage lighting ones it can get pretty hairy right now for me, I've got to say.
I just took two stage lights and both the mono and the normal one, they don't like the fact that I have headphones on, so it looks like I have like a ring of light around my head, because it's not cutting where the hair should be. So it keeps the headphones, and then it gets confused, and it's like, oh my god, what is going on here? What am I supposed to be cutting here? So there's like this light around my head, but the Contour and the Studio Light are actually pretty decent. I think they're not too bad.
Yeah, it's struggling. It's fine. I mean, I kind of thought we would see these things everywhere, and then once we, I think, saw how it's performing, there's a reason our Instagram feeds aren't full of them. But I think it'll get there. You know, the portrait mode out of the back cameras has definitely improved, and I think they will they'll get there slowly but surely. But
Oh God, Stephen, this is so bad.
yeah. So mine. It's like I've been in some sort of industrial accident.
We have to put these in the show notes, right? Like, I feel like we can't not, because we're, like, oh man.
So mine looks like I'm sinking into a vat of like black oil, and it's like creeping over my shoulder as I slowly get pulled down into it.
You look like a badly cut out cartoon character in Microsoft Paint, right? Like,
Yeah.
when someone has tried to like go through and
Yeah.
remove the background by hand? That's
Yeah.
how it looks.
Yeah.
Oh, Federico, yours is terrible. Mine is the only half decent one, I think. Oh my!
I'll put these all. I'll put these in the show notes where you can see them on the page. So
Oh my god! Yeah, look, it's not good. But you know what? Right? Like, I've seen a lot of videos, I've seen a lot of comparisons. The ones on the Pixel are way better. Every comparison video, every comparison photo that I've seen, the Google Pixel seems to do a better job because #machine learning, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I think in the short term, we will probably see normal portrait selfies, and maybe some studio light and contour light.
Yep.
The stage lights are just too buggy right now, I feel.
Yeah.
The other camera-related feature is Animoji, which is also another hit with my friends and my girlfriend and my mom.
And
They
the
all
world.
love- and the world, really. If you take a look on Twitter, Animoji Karaoke, Animoji, what's called theater with the movie scenes, people are using and remixing and sort of doing creative things with Animoji that maybe Apple could, they knew this was going to happen. Maybe they didn't know that this was going to happen. It feels to me like if they knew, this should have been somehow integrated into Clips. They have this social video creative movie making app. Why not integrate Animoji with Clips? Anyway,
Because honestly, I don't think we can criticize them for that. I don't think anybody saw this coming.
maybe. Anyway, I think it's super fun, Animoji. If anything, I want more characters, and I want the 10-second limit to be removed. I think it's super fun. Every time I create one and I send one, I start laughing because it's just so funny to have these animals, or the pile of poo, or the pig, making different faces and expressions and emotions. I think this is the first iMessage feature or app.
That's a true success.
That is a true success. Apple tried with digital touch multiple times on the Apple Watch and the iPhone, never worked. And they also did stickers, but this one, I think they got it.
What is your favorite, Federico? What is the Animoji you gravitate towards?
I want to say either the pig, because I think
Pig's
it's fun that I represent myself as an emoji pig. Or I'm partial to the monkey, of course.
Monkey's good too.
Yeah, the
Stephen,
monkey
what about
is.
you?
Yeah.
Have you been sending them to anybody?
I've sent a handful to you, and I've used the fox so far.
Fox is good.
I think I like his. He's not my favorite animal out of those, but I like the expressions that it has.
Yeah, see, I'm in the exact opposite of that. The unicorn is my favorite, but the unicorn is difficult to express with.
Yeah.
But I try my best, because the unicorn, I think of myself, if I was going to be any of those animojis, I would be the big, bright, colorful unicorn. I think that's probably what I would be. So it's the one that I've been using, but it's not as expressive as some of the other ones, which is a shame. But I absolutely love it. It's such a fantastic and fun and weird and silly feature. But it's the photo booth of the iPhone, right? Like, it's what it is, right? Like, it's this fun thing that people are enjoying, and it's turned into this really, really great meme, like, that people seem to be really catching on with, and I think that's awesome.
Two interesting points that I want to make. Once again, I take a look at what Sylvia does because she's a normal person, and so I value her feedback. Literally 20 seconds into using Animoji, she goes like, why is it not recognizing my tongue? So she was trying to do like
doing this too.
silly faces, and she was like, it's not picking up what I'm doing with my tongue. And I thought that was a good point. So I can see how maybe down the road Apple's facial mapping model will be enhanced, so it recognizes even what you're doing with your mouth. Basically, I think that should be done. And also, people are digging around the iOS 11 code on the iPhone 10, and it seems like Animoji are using this private framework called the Avatar Kit, something like that, which in theory, if you know what you're doing and you call a bunch of private APIs, you can write an app. There's one on GitHub, in fact, it's been going around on Twitter. You can make an app that lets you create Animoji outside of iMessage, which is interesting because it means, in theory, this is a framework, so Apple could easily reuse it in different apps outside of Messages.
Very interesting, right? And I assume that there are people inside of Apple right now scrambling to work out how to capitalize further on this trend, right? Like, they're not silly. They know what they know what to do, and if they think that there is an opportunity for them to extend this right now, then they'll probably do that.
If only this company had a music service to bundle with this feature,
Oh wow, yeah. They should just make Animoji karaoke. It should just be an app, right? And you get the lyrics come up in front of you, and you can sing along and mouth along to it.
I mean, they have Apple Music with all the songs you could possibly wish for, and they are the only music streaming service with lyrics built in, and they also have Animoji. So I mean, I'm not a product manager. I'm not a product manager, but this seems like a safe idea.
Yeah, somebody needs to get on it, right? Someone has to get on that. What about Face ID then? Because we're talking about Animoji. It's part of the whole camera thing. Stephen, Face ID. I want to go to you first. How has it been working for you? What do you think?
It's been working really well. The setup is super simple, and I've used it in pitch black rooms. I used it to unlock my phone at like 4 o'clock in the morning, without my glasses on, and it did fine. It's worked with glasses, without glasses, with a hat, without a hat. The only real thing I've noticed, and I never would have noticed except that I was using my camera in landscape to shoot a bunch of video, and the phone wants to be oriented in the same direction as your face. So if you pick your phone up, it wants to be in portrait mode. If you're laying down on your side, then the phone needs to be in landscape. Like, I think I'm explaining that right. The phone needs to be oriented in portrait mode in relation to your head. And I tried digging into maybe why that's possible, and I read some like crackpot theories, but I'm not really sure why. But that's something to think about, especially like if you're using it in bed, you got to turn it a little bit. But honestly, it's been really nice. I haven't really missed Touch ID. I haven't had it fail. I think outside of the why doesn't it work on its side? And once I sort of understood that, it's been fine. Where it really shines is using it in apps. So my banking app supports Face ID, 1Password, of course. And when the system asks you, hey, do you want to log in? All you have to do is be looking at the phone. And it makes using those apps feel way faster, even though it's not. It feels way less friction, and that's something I didn't anticipate.
It feels like part of the flow of the application.
It's
right?
It's not like you're being
just
interrupted.
waiting for it to return an answer, as opposed to you having to go and act upon something to make something occur.
Yep, it's really nice. So I have been really happy with it. I have not had a bunch of errant issues with it. So far, I've been really impressed.
What about you, Federico?
I just love it. I think it's. I need to say that I was wrong. That I take back all the possible, I was highly skeptical of abandoning Touch ID. Not only does this work better than Touch ID, because so far it's never failed me, and that's because Touch ID was dependent on this point of contact with your hand, and it was an additional step. Even if it got better with the second version of Touch ID, it was still an extra step that you needed to take, and that was affected by external conditions, such as maybe you just got out of the shower and your hands are wet, and so Touch ID is not working as it should be. But Face ID is not an additional step, because you're always wearing your face, and your face is always on, and it doesn't. You just need to look at your phone.
Face on worldwide.
Exactly, and so. It's this idea of this ambient technology that is aware of you, and it just things by detecting you. I think it's awesome. I think it works really well for me. I saw a few people saying it doesn't work in the morning because I look sleepy. I didn't have that problem this morning, and I woke up without my eyeglasses on, and it just unlocked just fine.
I had this thing this morning. It was so ridiculous. I woke up like earlier than I should have, right? Like I just woke up and whatever, and I picked up my phone, and I was trying to unlock it, but like my eyes weren't fully open, and like when you're tired, like you're trying to open your eyes and like one eye closes. Like I was fighting with the iPhone to try and unlock it because like I couldn't open my eyes, and I just kind of started laughing to myself as I realized what I was doing. And there was this part of me that's just like, how often was I doing this? Like unlocking my iPhone whilst half asleep
in a stupor.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like my phone is like, come on, dude, like just actually wake up before you start digging into this stuff. Hey,
I think, as Steven mentioned, it's especially impressive inside apps. I was surprised that I shouldn't be surprised, but it's always nice when the 1Password extension comes up. So you're outside of the app, and Face ID kicks in and it authenticates you. Like I needed to fill in my login details in Slack, and so I brought up the 1Password extension, and Face ID worked. And I thought, well, that's really nice. And I also noticed that now Apple is sort of using authentication in more places. Like in Safari, when like the automatic login stuff, now it's constantly checking for Face ID authentication. I'm pretty sure it wasn't as frequent with Touch ID and the previous Safari iCloud keychain, or maybe I'm wrong, but it seems
I think it was doing it. I honestly I find it kind of frustrating that it's doing the Face ID so frequently. But I guess it's nice that it's there. But like a lot of the time, these pages are opening. Like, so for example, I was setting up Tweetbot, right? And I was setting up with like 4 Twitter accounts. Now, what the system's trying to do is to keep authenticating me for the same one over and over again. So, like, I had to wait for Face ID. It would fill in one account. Then I'd have to open 1Password, wait for Face ID, and fill in the other account. Do you know what I mean? Right? Like, what it was trying to autofill was not the account that I was trying to sign in on. And it was just a bit like, okay, phone, just chill out for a moment and just let me take control of this situation. That was something that I noticed. But at the same time, that is a situation that I don't do very often. And the rest of the times that it's doing this stuff, as if it's actually pulling in the right information for me and pre-filling it, that's kind of great.
I understand why a machine learning-based functionality wants as much data as possible. So I can see why Apple is increasing the number of places where Face ID authentication is required, so they have a nice excuse to feed more data to the model behind Face ID. But overall, double thumbs up, even if that doesn't matter anymore because I'm not using my fingers to authenticate. So double nod,
just cut 'em
maybe?
off.
Yeah. I'm really happy with... Yeah.
All right. There's something that we haven't been talking about, and we need to talk about it, which is the dissolving of the Plus Club.
Dissolving. That's not the verb I was
Dissolving.
expecting.
Is that what happens when an exclusive club is no more?
Yeah, don't they
And you
dissolve? Like, don't you
have a
dissolve the club?
ceremony. You give out
Yeah.
some flowers, maybe some pins.
And then the
I don't know.
club disbands, right?
Yeah.
That's maybe disbands is better, but I thought you like dissolve like a organization. Isn't that the word that you use?
Club is dissolved. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, but before we talk about the dissolving of our club, let me thank TextExpander from our friends at Smile for supporting this week's show. You can communicate smarter with TextExpander because when you use TextExpander, you'll be able to recall your best and most frequently used words and phrases simply by creating a keyboard shortcut and letting TextExpander do the work for you. TextExpander is great for teams. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you want to add a marketing message to your company's email signature. You've got like a big event coming up and you want everybody that sends out an email to have notice about that event in it. But if you launch a new product or service in 2 weeks' time, you want to make sure that everybody's updated it, right? So you've got the new marketing message in the email signature. Now imagine having to deal with that by going up and talking to every single person or sending some kind of round-robin email to the entire team. That is a nightmare. With TextExpander, all you need to do is edit the shared snippet and it's instantly available to everyone on your team on all their devices. They just type in the little code that you all use for your email signature and it pre-fills with the most up-to-date version. That is the magic of shared snippets and just one simple example of what your team can do to communicate smarter with TextExpander. TextExpander is very customizable with options to hide or show the app in your menu bar or your dock if you're using the Mac, however you want to set that up. TextExpander has a handy search feature that you can help to find your snippets from anywhere you type on your Mac or PC, and you can even create a TextExpander snippet that acts as a calculator thanks to their new integration with JavaScript. It's incredibly powerful stuff. If you or your team spend any amount of your day typing, which I'm sure you do, you need TextExpander. Go to textexpander.com/podcast for 20% off your first year and just tell them that you heard about TextExpander from this show. That's textexpander.com/podcast for 20% off your first year. Tell them that you came to them from Connected and they will love that, and so will we. We thank TextExpander for their support of this show. So how many years has Plus Club been a thing? Like 3 years now?
Mm-hmm.
3, yeah, 2.5 maybe. Yeah,
It is something that has lasted for a long time for good reason, because I think we will all say here that we're all of the firm belief that the Plus phone is the best phone out of the decision between regular and Plus, right? It's why we all went there. We love the features. I wanna ask you both how you're feeling now about moving away from the Plus to a smaller sized phone. Federico, how has this experience been for you so far?
it's fine so far. I miss the width of the Plus. From a vertical perspective, the fact that this phone is taller than the iPhone 7 means that I'm still seeing like as many tweets as I was seeing before, or as many email messages without having to scroll. And also because I reduced the text size, that also helps. And it kind of feels like a mini Plus in a way. So it's fine for now, but I can tell you already. And again, my friends last night brought up the same point. I want to have a Plus version of this. So whenever Apple makes a 10 Plus or whatever it's called, 11 Plus, I'm going to jump on that, because I can only imagine how the physical body of the iPhone Plus, but with an edge-to-edge display, that's going to be amazing. For now, I took the text size down a notch, no pun intended. And it's fine because I can see, the fact that it's taller. I can see the content that I want to see. There's more, for example, there's more wrapping for text. So it goes down a line, for example, because there's not enough horizontal space. So text needs to go on a different line, for example. But that's fine. That's fine. I can live with this for a year, and I can appreciate the all the great features of this phone, like the the display and all that. But next year, if next year we're gonna get 2 models, I'm gonna get the bigger one, because I know I want my iPhone to be as big as possible with the design of the 10. So if that's gonna happen, that's gonna be my next iPhone.
You seem very confident about 1 year there.
I said if, maybe it's 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like. I miss my iPhone Plus right now, but the things that I'm missing are not as nearly as important as this new design. So I'll take the new design over. I don't want to be that person saying, I'm gonna stay with the Plus. I'm not gonna switch to the 10 because I want the Plus form factor. It's more important for me to have this entirely new iPhone design because it's exciting, because it looks better, because I love the way that the screen feels and looks. But if Apple is going to make a Plus version, I'm going to get that one.
I agree with Federico. The width is what has surprised me, especially on the keyboard. I found the keyboard to take a little getting used to. I mean, the easiest, if you haven't seen one of these phones, the easiest way to think about it, I think, is when you went from the 4 to the 5. So this phone is basically the width of the 6/7/8, but closer to the height of the Plus phone. So it's sort of it's an in-betweeny phone. I like the size decrease in my pocket. I like the size decrease in handling the phone, but I do miss the wider keyboard. I think if they had a Plus version, I would seriously consider it. But I'm not as convinced as some people that is actually going to happen. I think Apple thinks that they've sort of have the best of both worlds in this phone until proven otherwise. I don't know if they see the need for a Plus, but I would definitely consider going to the Plus if it were to exist, to have the width back and the as always increased battery that comes with a bigger phone. But it's all in all, like I'm happy with the size. I like it. There's something nice about having something a little more compact and more portable, but it's taking some getting used to.
Yeah, I think there'll be a Plus version just because they won't keep making an old design forever, right? And I don't expect a new design which doesn't look like this with the full screen and the Face ID and all that stuff. So I reckon there will be a bigger version of this kind of design down the road just because Apple will want to sell more than one phone. It's funny to me that, like, as the person who kind of forced you both and coerced you both into getting a Plus, that I am I think the least bothered of the three of us about this size change. I don't honestly feel any difference. I don't feel it. And this was something that happened very quickly for me. Most of the stuff that I liked about the Plus was landscape stuff, right? So, and I feel like I'm seeing more content. I see more emails. I see more messages. I see more tweets. Like, I don't really feel like I'm losing anything. And the majority of the time that I type on my iPhone, I'm using the swiping functionality on Gboard, and it's easier for me to do that now with the width being smaller. So I'm actually really happy with this size. I would move up to a bigger size for the exact same reason I moved up in the first place, because I always want to have the biggest screen available to me. Like, that's just how I feel with my phone, right? Like, bigger is better because I get a lot of benefits from it. And there were a lot of initial benefits, like the dual camera system and all that sort of stuff was all really exciting. So, yeah, I, funnily enough, am absolutely fine with this size and don't really feel like I'm losing anything. Like, for my usage, it feels great.
Yeah, I was just reading over the blog post I wrote because I had the 6 and then moved to the 6 Plus, and I blame you a lot in this. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, you both did. I remember.
Yeah.
It was like a whole big thing for a while because I convinced you both to buy a second iPhone not too long after buying a first one. Like, that's a very frustrating thing, but it's why I was right, because you should have just trusted me in the first place.
I'm sorry we doubted you.
That's all right. I don't mind. Now we're all in the X crew together, so goodbye, Plus Club. Now we're all one big happy family again. The iPhone 10 brought with it a few accessories, some new accessories. Namely, the biggest, I think, being wireless charging.
Yeah.
Do either of you have any thoughts on wireless charging as a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I do.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that I know it's not technically wireless, like it's not power flowing through the air, but as someone who is deeply annoyed by visual clutter, like I hate having cables on my desk, on my nightstand. I don't want to see those kinds of things. I just hate wires, really, and I appreciate the, maybe not the convenience, but the elegance of the wireless charging supported by the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10. So I have a Belkin Boost app. It's this white charging mat. You put the iPhone on and it charges. It's got this tiny green dot. It's a LED indicator that tells you if you place the iPhone correctly and if it's charging. And that's about it. It's got this rubber circle on top, so it's grippy, and it prevents the iPhone from falling off the charger. I should also say I hate, maybe hate is not the right word, but I don't like having vibration on. My phone is either with the ringtone and sounds on, or it's silent, and if it's silent it doesn't vibrate. I just hate the feeling of vibration on my kitchen table, on my desk, or on my nightstand. I don't like the noise. I just don't like it. So I don't have the problem of the iPhone vibrating itself off the charging mat. But that said, wireless charging on the iPhone 10, it still does not support faster wireless charging. Apple said that in a software update in the future, they will support 7.5 watt faster charging for the wireless protocol. Right now, that is not available, so it charges slowly at 5 watts like the normal Apple adapter. But I was looking at my nightstand last night with my single, just my my glasses, my AirPods case, and the charging mat with the iPhone, and I thought, this looks really nice. I'm happy that I don't see any cables. Everything is in behind the nightstand, the power adapter for the charging mat. It's all very elegant, it's all very minimal, and I like that I'm going to sleep and I don't have to deal with the cable, I also know that there will be times when I will have to use my iPhone and charge it at the same time. So I will have to use a cable. But I think at night when I'm sleeping and the iPhone needs to charge, I will just place it there and without having to see the cable, which makes me happy.
So you're all in then? This is something you like?
And I cannot wait for the Air Power thing that Apple is making. I like the idea of putting my iPhone and the AirPods case and have them charge at the same time. That's awesome for me. So cables and wires and adapters visually offend me. So I don't want to see them. I cannot stress this enough. It makes me upset. It makes me physically upset that I need to see those and manage them and move them around, and then they break.
Wow.
So yeah. Yes,
wow.
I'm one of those people.
Are there many of those people? I
think
so.
so.
You said, I'm one. There's so
charging,
many of us.
Now I'm gonna be the person that tells you, on Android we've had Qi chargers for years.
Which is great. I'm very happy for everybody.
Yeah.
Stephen,
I picked up a Samsung wireless charger. It was the best reviewed on the Wirecutter, and I got it super cheap on Amazon. And I got it yesterday, and I don't particularly care for it. The top is slippery, so the phone wants to slide around it if your phone is not in a case. It's pretty high off the desk, and the whole bottom of it glows blue, so I wouldn't want it on my nightstand.
Great.
So this one, I'm keeping it because it was $20, and it's just going to stay on my desk in the office. Those things don't really matter out here. But I wanted to compare the Mophie, because in the Apple Store, they sell the Belkin that Federico has, and then they sell a Mophie. So I picked that up last night, and it's pretty great. It's black. It's really low to the desk. The top is all rubbery and grippy, so the phone doesn't want to slide around. And it has one downward-firing LED that is not bright at all. It's very easy to tape over. The Samsung one, because it glows like a spaceship, you basically have to cover the whole thing in tape. I like Federico. I like the lack of visual clutter. I like that you can just pop the phone down and charge it. There's something interesting here, though, with the speed. So Federico, you said, software update's going to enable 7.5 watt. The Mophie and the Belkin, both on Apple's website, say that they will support that when Apple enables it. I don't know why Apple hasn't enabled it. Whatever. The Samsung is a little more interesting because some of these other manufacturers are saying only people who have worked with Apple to support 7.5 watt will be enabled, but it's part of the standard. So like, I don't know if the Samsung one will charge it at 7.5 watts when the phone can accept it or not. So that'll be an interesting little footnote here that if you buy one today, you're not guaranteed that update in the future is going to unlock faster charging. The other thing that's interesting about this phone is that it does fast charging. So if you have that big, was it 29 watt USB-C to Lightning setup, which is like $70 or something, it will charge. It will charge on that. I have one of those. I haven't really. I plugged the phone into it a couple of times, but I haven't really like closely paid attention. So I'm going to do that and see what that's like. I don't even know if that's working or if that's part of that software update. I'm unclear on that. But the wireless charging is nice. I mean, even at 5 watts, it's the same speed as the stupid slow adapter they put in the box still. But it's nice you can just sit it down and you don't have to have a cable snaked across your desk, or it's just sort of easily just to kind of drop it on the nightstand and be done. So I like it so far. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's I can see why people were excited that it was coming to the phone.
I don't care for wireless charging. It just doesn't. It doesn't work for me. For what I want. Like, I bought the Belkin thing and I put my phone on it and it charged, and that was okay. And it's because I have a better solution that I've been using from Studio Neat. I use their material docks. I use the iPhone and Watch one on my bedside table and the iPhone one on my desk. And they work better for me than these charging pads because the phone just stands up, and especially I have the one unit up by my bedside, which is my watch and my phone. Like, that works fine. Like, I can do it with one hand. It just goes in, comes out because it's nice and affixed to the desk. And then my phone is standing up, which I find better than the phone laying down. So really, the wireless charging, I know why people would like it. Like, if you were plugging your phone in to a cable every night, then this is great for you. But if you have already a dock solution that you like, the wireless charging stuff doesn't really add anything. Like, the cables are already out of the way, right? Like, it's not incredibly hard for me to just put my phone into the dock. Like, I don't feel like I'm fighting to try and line it up. Like, it lines up pretty nicely. It works great. But so for me, it's just like, I'm not really getting any benefit, honestly, because I still have to like make sure that my phone is on the pad correctly and check that it's just, I don't really feel it. Maybe when I'm traveling, it will be cool with the AirPower thing, maybe, but I don't really feel any need to use it at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get
It'd
it.
be good for Adina, though. Whenever she gets a wireless charging phone, she would like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you both using a case on this iPhone? Because I have a problem here, and I want to hear if you're having the same issue, which is, this phone is beautiful. I don't want to cover it up.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do it.
I bought a case from Amazon last night. It arrived this morning because Amazon is now a warehouse near Rome. So fast shipping times. It's awesome. Anyway, it's a what's the name? Spigen. Air Skin. So it's a very thin, semi-translucent plastic case that does a good job at covering the back. It's a very tight case. I actually had a problem removing it from the iPhone later. And I also like the way that it's super thin and it doesn't cover the edges of the phone much. But two problems here. One, it covers the beautiful glass of the iPhone X, and I kind of want to see that design. I feel like I want to appreciate it. I want to look at it. But also, in a fun problem that I'm having, the glass is actually grippier than plastic. So yes, I'm covering up the glass back, so it should prevent the phone from the glass from breaking in theory. But it also makes it easier for me to have this phone slip out of my hands and fall into the ground. So the glass is beautiful. It's grippier. I think I'm gonna try and go without a case for a while. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm in the same problem. I can't bring myself to cover up the glass on the stainless steel. Like, it looks too good. And like, so I have the ultraviolet purple silicon case, the Apple one, which is beautiful. It's one of my favorite cases. I've used it once. So right now, when I'm leaving the house, I'm putting the case on because I feel like right now is the worst possible time to break an iPhone 10. I just feel like that this is, if you want to try and take it to the store and get it fixed, right now you might struggle to, like, you might have to wait for a replacement, is my thinking, right? Like, I feel like now is probably the worst possible time for iPhone stock. So, like, if I'm leaving the house, I'm putting the case on it. Because in my mind, that makes me feel better. I don't know why. Like, it's just as dangerous at home, honestly, because I have it out more at home, but, like, I try not to think about that. I also ordered the in-case frame, which is a bumper, which is on the way. I'm thinking that might be a good middle ground, because at least I'll still feel and see the glass. So I'll let you know what that's like. I don't know how that's going to go, but that could work for, like, the case that I would use if I'm going to use one. But I don't want to, because I just really, really like the phone as it is. Steven, do you have a case?
I bought the black Apple leather case. And like, so I used it this weekend when we were, hiking and stuff. But I am not using it. Otherwise, I'm not using it. I mean, I took it off when we got home.
And you're the only one of us that's broken an iPhone, though, right?
You've broken phones, right?
I've never broken an iPhone.
Never. What about you, Federico?
No, never.
Well, I bought AppleCare Plus for realsies this time. So,
are you sure?
Yes, I'm
you sure? Print
positive.
It out. Okay.
Yeah, I did the same yesterday. Actually, I did it online. Like, I didn't have to go to the physical Apple store. I did it from the online Apple store, and it was a surprisingly nice process. Like, you add AppleCare Plus for the iPhone 10 to your shopping bag, and then you get an email from Apple that says, click on this link, and you click on the link, and it takes you to the system diagnostics, like the same app that I guess the Apple Store people use, and it runs these diagnostics on the device. It uploads the data to the Apple servers. I suppose they may be, because you're not bringing the iPhone physically to the Genius Bar, for example. There's not an Apple employee looking at the phone and saying, well, this has no physical damage. I suppose the diagnostics tool, it takes a look at the motion data logs on the device to sort of try to guess if the phone dropped, maybe. I don't know. This would be interesting to know. And anyway, you see this progress bar, and it uploads data. Then it says, okay, you can go back to Safari. You go back to Safari, you click continue, and it says, yep, your phone is verified. You can now buy AppleCare. I bought AppleCare. I got an email today with the receipt, so I'm officially covered. And I realized all those times I went to the Apple Store just to buy AppleCare, that was useless. So the more you know, yeah.
I did this too. I did the AppleCare process after the fact and did it all on the phone. It's very easy. You just got to wait for a few minutes while it's doing whatever it's doing. And I bought AppleCare for this one because I'm planning to leave it caseless. And I do love it like that. And plus this phone feels super thin to me because I've had cases on my iPhones for so long, right? So it's like this one, it's like a piece of paper is how it feels to me. It's very peculiar. But boy, do I love it. Isn't this a great iPhone, guys? Isn't this just wonderful?
It's making me feel like I'm having the same feelings that I had in 2009, 2008 when I got my first iPhone. Like, all that excitement and all that feeling of wanting to understand what I'm using, like the curiosity and the excitement and the talking to friends and showing off the phone. Like, it feels like we're back to a time where we can be excited about new iPhones. And it feels like since the iPhone 6 and the 6S and the 7, that feeling kind of went away actually for a while. And it feels like we're not only back into, being excited about these iPhones, but actually it's just a beautiful piece of hardware that feels like it came from the future, but is actually here with us today. So it's really, I think it's from a technical perspective, it's a huge achievement for Apple to have this phone, and I'm really happy with it. I know it's expensive; it's not for everyone right now, but this is going to be the iPhone that maybe a few years down the road, every iPhone will look like this. And so to have it today, it feels like we this is a lucky year, because somehow Apple managed to make it happen, and I'm just really happy. It's a phone that makes me happy to use my iPhone again.
If you want to find our show notes this week, head on over to relay.fm/connected/168. Thanks again to our fine sponsors, Balance Open, Casper, and TextExpander from Smile. If you want to find Federico online, he's at macstories.net and at Viticci on Twitter, VITICCI. Stephen is 512pixels.net for the website and on YouTube. He's 512pixels on YouTube as well. Stephen makes great YouTube videos. He is at ISMH on Twitter. I am at iMyke, IMYKE. We'll be back next time. Until then, say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
Adios.